It is cold.
I don't say it's cold. It says 25, but that's cold enough.
That's cold enough.
That's a heat wave compared to last night.
Boy, I'll tell you what. We're heading over to Garage Mahal to check on progress, which will be in some upcoming shows. But this week, we're back over to Ely, Nevada, where we rode the haunted ghost train.
That was so much fun.
Our Halloween show. And this time we're going to be riding the train, and then next week we're going to still be there. We'll be going back into the forbidden and hidden spaces and touring the shops and so on.
Fun.
So that'll be a good deal of fun. But this week we're riding the train and getting a close-up look at that and looking at some old footage too, which will be a lot of fun.
Yep.
In a lot of ways, going to Ely, Nevada is like time traveling back to the 1950s or 60s. This is because Ely was bypassed by the freeway system in the late 1960s. Before that, it had been right on US 50, the backbone of America, the old Lincoln Highway. It was also a major mining hub back then. But mines being mines, they kind of have their on times and their off times. And the mines around Ely started entering into way more off times than on times. It was also becoming much more efficient to mine using large trucks rather than locomotives. And so one day everybody showed up to work and found pink slips, and the railroad had been closed down. The interesting thing is, everybody just sort of walked away from their job and left everything just exactly as it had been the day before. And the doors were locked, and that was that. And so, just as Ely was becoming the land time forgot, the railroad really became the land time forgot. Now, this beautiful little Baldwin 10-wheeler had already become something of an artifact that time had forgotten. But in 1986, Kennecott Copper gave the railroad and the locomotive to the people of Ely, Nevada to run as a tourist railroad. And so I showed up with my video camera with Mike Niederhauser in tow, and we made a video about that called The Ghost Train of Old Ely. These are some of the runs that we shot, the very first tourist runs in 1987. Number 40 was in absolutely perfect condition. It fired up and ran beautifully. This is the paint job that had been put on it in the 1940s. Interestingly, the boiler jacket here is bare metal. It's a Russian iron boiler jacket. It has subsequently been painted over, but back in 1987, it was still bare metal. Now, Kennecott had ordered all of the steam locomotives to be scrapped out after World War II, but the management of the Nevada Northern just didn't want to scrap out number 40. It was their favorite little engine. So they stashed it in a building instead. Still operating, still in perfect condition, and it sat there until the railroad was given to the people of Ely in 1986. Now, Mike Niederhauser and I continued shooting video on the Nevada Northern through 1987 and 88, and we made another program called Ghost Trains of the Old West. This is Volume 1 for PBS. I am forever running into copies of this on VHS. It's been around for a long, long time. Both videos are available on DVD if you're looking for them. If you click on the Guy's Hobby Shop link on the channel page, that will take you to a hobby shop. And no, we don't own that or have anything to do with it. But they do sell a lot of videos, and they stock both of these videos, should you be looking for them.
Because of the steep grades and narrow canyon, the 8-mile line up Robinson Canyon took just as long to build as the 140-mile line north from Ely to Cobre, where the Nevada Northern interchanged with the Transcontinental Railroad.
The Nevada Northern is just as magical today as it was back in 1987 when they first started tourist operations. And they have very, very carefully preserved the state of the shops and the facilities here just as they appeared after the railroad had been closed all of those years.
The railroad closed down in 1983, and it was a big thing that they wanted the railroad to, this was the community's railroad. And they actually talked to Kennecott. They wanted them to run tourist operations, and they said, no, we're a copper company. They actually the railroad sent people to Utah to talk to Kennecott, and the people ahead of them and behind them talking to Kennecott were actually people trying to get them to scrap the railroad. And it turned out to be a cheaper option to actually donate the railroad rather than scrap it, which is probably a big reason why it's here. Just it made economic sense to keep it. But 1984 was the first part donated. In 1987, they started operations here with engine 40 and 20 and 5, which are back there. So we still have them. And after that, they just slowly started rebuilding more and more of the railroad. And even 1994 to 99, they were hauling copper out of here, VHB. And, it's still all here. We're trying to get it fully reopened to have freight service again, but it's pretty cool.
Since taking the railroad over in 1987, the restoration group has gotten another engine running, number 93, and they're working on 2 more steam engines. They run a tremendous number of excursions here. Almost all of them are pulled by the steam engines, and that is very, very unique. They also have a program here where you can drive the engines if you want to. You can sign up to learn to be a steam locomotive engineer and then actually drive the steam locomotives pulling a train. Most of the excursions run up Robinson Canyon to the location of the mines. They don't go up to the mines anymore. In 1987, when we were filming here, they took us all the way up to the mines, and that was very impressive. But these days, they don't go all the way up to the mines, as that would be rather dangerous. They also run excursions down to the small community of McGill. next week, we're still going to be here at Ely. We're going to dive into the back shops and some of the forbidden back spaces here that the public don't generally get to see, and see this amazingly well-preserved railroad. Ely is about 240 miles southwest of Salt Lake City and about 240 miles north of Las Vegas. So it's off the beaten path, but highly recommended if you want to see something totally amazing. Well, that's the ghost train of Old Ely.
That was something else.
What a history, too. I mean, the railroad has history, but the preservation has the most interesting history.
Right.
And the fact that it's still there, and it's all because Ely is so utterly far off the beaten path.
Right. Well, I've heard stories about Ely my whole life and McGill because my grandpa lived in McGill, but this was way back probably in the 20s. So.
Well, and back then it was on US 50, the
Right.
Lincoln Highway, the backbone of America.
Exactly.
It was
Probably
not
had
bypassed. It was on the
There it
main
was.
corridor connecting east and west. Not anymore. And so it's just off the grid.
Right.
But that's what makes it so interesting. If you haven't been to the channel, do go over to the channel. A blue button's going to be popping in just a minute here that says subscribe. If you're a subscriber and you click on that, it just takes you to the channel.
Right.
If you're not a subscriber, and we know who you are,
That's right.
we have a list.
We have our ways.
Yes, we have our ways. The NSA has informed
Oh
me.
dear.
But if you click on that, you'll be removed from the NSA's unsubscribed list and moved to our subscribed list, which is a much better place to be. And then it'll just take you to the channel, and you'll be notified of all the movies as we upload them.
That's right.
And that sort of thing. Next week, we're back here at Ely, this time going into the shops and even some of the forbidden spaces where they don't let people go to see things that they don't let people usually see.
Right.
So that's going to be a good deal of fun. Well, we're not sure how you found this movie on the internet. We hope you didn't find it boring. And we'll see you here again next week as we go into the forbidden spaces. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.